Today, I'm gonna share my version of monkey bread recipe with you. This monkey bread is seriously delicious and I'm sure everyone like it. Mine is like this. It's finished with an extremely rich flavor. Super fluffy tangzhong brioche, lots of butter, spiced with cinnamon, tons of caramel sauce, and crunchiness of nuts. Each piece is so delicious and addictive. I'm absolutely confident that it's the best monkey bread you've ever had. So let's get started. So first, mise en place, gather all the ingredients you need. For the dough, bread flour, divided, whole milk, 2 eggs refrigerated, melted unsalted butter, instant dry yeast, salt, and sugar. For the cinnamon sugar, sugar, and walnuts or pecan. For the caramel, sugar, heavy cream, unsalted butter, water, and salt. You will also need 1 cup of melted butter while working. As for the tin, I use this kind of round cake tin. 21 cm wide, 6 cm high round cake tin is perfect for this. Or you can use this kind of rectangle tin too. So let's get started by making the bread dough. First, put your eggs in the fridge until needed. We use them for temperature control, so we want to keep them as cold as possible. And then add in 60 grams of the bread flour in a large bowl and place the milk over high heat. Bring to simmer. As soon as it starts boiling, pour it into the bowl and mix until no dry flour left, which only takes 10 to 20 seconds. This is called tangzhong and it makes bread extremely soft. I always do this way making sweet bread. And then cover it up with a plastic wrap and put it in the fridge for exactly 25 minutes. The tangzhong will cool down to a little warm temperature, somewhere between 35 to 40 C. After 25 minutes, take the tangzhong and the eggs out of the fridge. Mix the tangzhong lightly to loosen it up. And then add the cold eggs and melted butter to the little warm tangzhong. Mix lightly. And then add the yeast, salt, and sugar. Grab a hand blender, blend it well until there is no lumps. Since a tangzhong won't dissolve in water or eggs, we need to use hand blender. Scrape in the sides of the bowl with a spatula once in a while. Once you blend it to some extent, angle your blender and move it around like this, so that you can blend it more efficiently. Continue to blend. Now, mine has no longer big lumps and is smooth, so I'm gonna move on to the next. Remove the liquid as much as possible from the blender and add it back to the bowl. And then the final ingredients for the dough. Add 240 grams of the bread flour. Mix to a dough. And this is actually a no-knead bread recipe, so all we need to do here is simply mix until no dry flour left, which means you don't need any kneading technique for that. Take a dough scraper, start mixing. Just continue to mix. And then at the very end, I switched my hands to finish this off. Now, all the flour is hydrated. We finish mixing. At this point, the dough should be very sticky, but it's totally normal. Never add an extra flour. So shape into a round ball and cover with plastic wrap. Start fermenting. Changing to a clean bowl is optional. By the way, I added all the ingredients in its order so far. We're gonna ferment 3 times in total. First ferment for 1 hour. Keep it room temperature, not too hot or too cold. And then as soon as we start fermenting, make the caramel sauce. Since the caramel sauce needs to cool down completely before assembling with the dough, we need to cook it at an early stage. You can even make it before making the bread dough. Combine the water and sugar in a medium-sized pan. Place it over medium heat. We're gonna cook until the sugar caramelizes and it looks golden amber color, like the white one, which takes 8 to 10 minutes. By the way, my pan is way too small. Make sure to use a larger one. What we're gonna do while cooking is just wait, don't stir, otherwise your sugar get crystallized. Once the sugar partially starts caramelizing, like this, swirl the pot gently instead of stirring to ensure all the sugar caramelized evenly, and continue to cook. Now mine has caramelized enough, so I'm gonna remove from the heat. Pour in the heavy cream gradually. Make sure to do this gradually. First, 1 tablespoon. The caramel bubbles up vigorously, but don't panic. And then another 1 tablespoon. And then all the remaining cream. Whisk together. And then add in the butter and salt. Return the pot back to the heat. Cook over medium heat until just melted. You don't need to reduce it. Set aside to cool down to room temperature. Next, make the cinnamon sugar. Chop the walnuts roughly like this, and then just combine with sugar and cinnamon. Set aside. Also, prepare a tin. Grease with some oil all over before lining the baking paper, so that the paper won't move while working. Also, cut your paper into a little larger size than your tin, just in case the dough rises too much. Now, 1 hour has passed. We're gonna go back to the dough. Mine has puffed up this much. We're gonna give it a fold. This is a very sticky dough, so we need to dust with a little flour. Tip the dough out onto the work surface. And then roll the dough on a lightly floured work surface. Make sure not to use too much flour. Once the dough is lightly coated with flour all over, flatten it out, grab the edge, fold it to the middle, turn and repeat. Repeat this 5 to 7 more times. By doing this, you can make your dough stronger, which is very essential since we haven't kneaded at all. Also, by degusting the dough, the fermentation will be accelerated, and many other good things is happening to the dough. And then seal the seam, shape into a bowl, put it back to the bowl, and ferment for 1 more hour. After 1 hour, mine has puffed up so nicely. We're gonna start assembling the 3 parts we made. First, give the dough a fold, just like the first fold you did. Dust with a little flour, flatten it out, grab the edge, fold it to the middle. Once you finish the fold, dust with a little flour. Roll your dough into a thick square or rectangle. We're gonna divide the dough into bite-sized pieces. Keep some distance between the pieces as they can easily stick together again. And next, dip them in the unsalted melted butter to coat. And then fish out, transfer to a large tray. A fork is the best tool for this. Once that's done, roll the pieces in a cinnamon sugar mixture to coat. Just like this. And then place each of them in the tin. Once you've made one layer, pour in 1/4 of the caramel sauce. By the way, if your caramel has firmed up for some reason, heat it up on the stovetop for 10 seconds or so to soften it up. And then go back to the previous process, continue to work. Once you placed all the pieces, pour all the remaining caramel over the top evenly. Now we finished assembling. The inside of the tin is something like this. That's so glossy and looks delicious even before baking, right? And place the tin on a baking sheet, cover with a plastic wrap, or a large plastic bag might be more handy. We're gonna start the final fermentation, which takes 1.5 to 2 hours at room temperature. Let it rise until very puffy, like the white one. While fermenting, preheat your oven to 170°C fan on or 190°C fan off. I fermented mine for 1 hour 45 minutes at room temperature 24°C. And it has really nicely puffed up like this. Now I'm gonna bake it. If your dough hasn't risen that much for some reason, then ferment more. While it's not that big problem to over ferment your bread a little bit, you definitely want to avoid under fermented, dense bread. Also, if your oven is tiny like mine and the heating element can be close to the bread, cover your bread with foil very loosely to prevent the top from burning. If your oven is large enough, you don't have to do that. And don't forget to bake on a baking sheet because some of the caramel can leak out from the bottom. We don't want our oven to get dirty. And bake for 60 to 90 minutes until the inner temperature registers above 94°C or 200°F. Any oven may differ, so the baking time is also different. As for mine, it took 80 minutes. And then place the tin on a wire rack, leave to cool down for 1 hour. We're gonna wait until the caramel and butter between each piece set to some extent. If you remove the tin right away, your bread can collapse. After 1 hour, you can remove the tin. Place a serving plate or a wire rack on top of the tin. Flip it over, and then carefully remove the tin and peel off the baking paper. Full of caramel and nuts, there is no way it could be bad. You can serve warm or at room temperature. It's delicious either way. But I personally prefer at room temperature because the caramel will set and have more chewy texture, which I like. Also, I'm gonna decorate with some icing, which is optional. If you wanna do this after the surface has cooled down. By the way, this is the whole process. Look this through along with the written recipe. So, try this out. No matter how many times I eat, I'm always amazed by how good it is. The bread is incredibly soft. Each piece is coated with butter, cinnamon sugar, and gooey caramel sauce. And then crunchiness from the nuts. Everything we want is just packed in one bite. That's really addictive. This bread should definitely be illegal. It's that addictive and tastes that delicious. The combination of cinnamon flavor and paired with soft bread, combination of gooey caramel and nuts, they kinda reminds me of cinnamon roll and Snickers. But this monkey bread is much better than cinnamon roll, better than Snickers. So if you're about to make them at home by chance, please change your plan and make this monkey bread instead of them. Now, let's have a closer look. I used high percentage of tangzhong for this dough. At that moment, the flour absorbs so much water. That's why this bread has turned out extraordinarily soft and fluffy. This bread can stay completely soft for 48 hours. So you don't have to worry about shelf life that much. This bread certainly takes a little effort and time to make, but if you consider the result, it should totally be worth it. So please give it a try and let me know how it turned out. Thank you for watching. Bye!